You ever had your confidence knocked? That's what's happened to me this week. I think I'm probably going to explore that by talking it out. I think that's generally how I discover how I'm feeling about things. It's been on my mind all week pretty much, and I don't know, I think this might be helpful for anybody out there who's had their confidence knocked and found themselves listening to the critics, found themselves looking at numbers maybe, subscriber count or view count or retention rate, any of these kind of things that can really knock your confidence. Now, I mean, I try not to do that. I do it, but I don't let the numbers dictate where I'm going with what I'm making. But what I should address is why I make what I'm making. And for those of you that don't know, it's really just so that I can make myself well. You know, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel that I'm tapped into something creative, and it helps me to understand myself, to figure out how to get closer to being the guy I want to be. And when you get critical feedback, you know, it can be hard. So let me just step into another couple of content creators whose stuff I really enjoy. Jeffery, Saddoris and Sean Tucker. You've heard me talk about them before if you've been on my channel for any length of time. Jeffery Saddoris I've been following for years. He was a host on the On Taking Pictures podcast with Bill Wadman, and he recently, well, it's maybe more than a year now, I don't know, but he started doing a weekly call with Sean Tucker, a UK-based content creator, philosopher, life coach. You know, these guys are similar in age to me. They have a similar outlook on life, I think, and they create stuff, and they're trying to build a business and a life around what they make. And I just love the way that they talk. I love the conversations that they have, and I ideally would like to have that kind of thing on tape myself, with somebody that I could bounce ideas off. Anyway, in their most recent episode, Jeffery talked a bit about listening to critics, and he mentioned Sean in particular as somebody who gives him feedback that isn't always necessarily what he wants to hear, you know. It comes from a place of love, it comes from somebody that knows him well and understands what he's all about.
I think you'd have a cute...
Well, it's not, I mean, it's not what we're used to, you know. I mean, you and I have talked about this offline and online, that you are an incredible friend, but you are not going to suffer fools and just let things go. I mean, we talked about this last week. You know, you are very much, you know, you want somebody's good. You want their good. You want them to be healthy and good and happy and all that. But you're also going to call out when they're not being honest about either what they're doing or how they're feeling. And that's a rare quality to have, but rarer still is the way you are able to communicate that, where it doesn't sound judgmental or dismissive or like you're somehow better than. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and I love that that's your take on it, because that's what I want to be. Because for my mind, like, I'm actually not your friend if I validate every feeling you have.
Right.
And tell you to stay in bed every day because shame, it's rough. Like, I'm not really being your friend. I'm being your friend if I tell you the truth about what I really see, which we all think about each other. We all think, like, you're starting to get too self-indulgent with that feeling and you're hamstringing your own journey. At that point, you have a choice. Either tell them that and risk that they don't like you anymore, or get defensive, which, by the way, often happens. And I've lost friends because I've risked saying the thing that I actually see.
Right.
But that's me being a friend. And if you choose to kick me out because you'd rather protect yourself and not listen to what I'm saying, or not even consider that I might have seen something that you have a blind spot about, that's okay. Then I wish you well on your way. But I did the right thing. Like, I thought something and I had the guts to say it to you, because I cared. And I hope that I always communicate in a way that, like, I care. I hope that always comes across.
Yeah. It has with me. I can't speak for everybody else in your life, obviously, but for me, you will. There have been several times where you go, hey, I'm going to stop you there, and I don't mean to be unkind, but I'm going to call bullshit on this, and here's why. and it's, a friend of mine said you can pretty much tell anybody anything if you serve it up the right way.
The thing he mentioned in particular was that he doesn't think my voice is authentic, and he got into not just, it wasn't really about what I was saying, it was more about the accent, the dialect, that kind of thing. And it's something I've been aware of, that whenever I turn the camera on, there's a kind of performance aspect to it, and I tend not to speak exactly the way I would normally speak. So I'm trying to change that here. It's quite hard actually. Doing things like putting in glottal stops instead of glottal stops, saying things like things instead of things, wee things like that, which actually, when I think about it, there is probably some truth to it. So if I could get a wee bit more relaxed, maybe that's what he's on about, maybe it would help me, I don't know. Get a wee bit more relaxed, because when I walk up here and I kind of go through a rough idea what I'm going to talk about, and I generally do that by talking out loud, because there's nobody here, right? I'm usually on my own up here, so I can walk and talk, and when I do that, I'm much more relaxed, obviously, because there's no camera on me. I'm just like blah 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 blah. So I do acknowledge that there is a bit of a shift in the way I talk when the camera turns on, and I think that's normal. I think everybody goes through that. Talking on camera is not something that comes naturally to any of us, really. So yeah, it's a practice thing. So I think what I'm trying to say is, maybe there is some truth to what he's saying. I don't think he was knocking my content as such. I don't even think he watches it really. And even if he doesn't like it, doesn't matter, does it? So yeah, that's really where I'm at. I might start just trying to relax a little bit more when I'm on camera and see where that takes me. See if it helps me to get closer to my truth. Because ultimately that's what this is about. It's about getting closer to my truth. To figuring out how to work on my character defects. How to maybe help other people. Because that's the thing, right? I've got 16 plus years of not drinking. I'm trying not to use the word sobriety deliberately. I haven't drank in over 16 years, but I wouldn't say I'd been sober all that time, because I've been, acting out in ways that I'm not proud of. So the idea of sobriety and wholeness, and that's how I'm thinking of these things. Wholeness, wellness, strong mental health, kindness, love. They're all things that you get from AA, from the big book, but they're all things that the way that the book sets them out, I had trouble kind of getting my head around. Now as I get into this next phase, let's call it, of my transformation, through talking into the camera, through writing, through exploring my thoughts and feelings on tape and in writing, I can get closer to my truth, and I'm quite sure that will be helpful, because there must be other folk out there who have got some kind of length of time away from drugs or alcohol or whatever the thing might be, but who are still so-called white knuckling it, still acting out, lashing out in relationships, or for me it's sugar and diet, it's resistance, it's self-sabotage, it's getting in my own way, it's all these things that are holding me back, limiting beliefs, just not believing in myself. So, that's why I do this. That's what this is all about. So that's why I'm sitting up here today, because it's such a beautiful day, and I could quite easily not have come up because the snooker's on. I was sitting in the house, I was like, I need to get some exercise, and there's still resistance. It's mental. This is one of my favourite places in the world. I love getting up here. I know how good it makes me feel. I know it unlocks my creativity. I know it makes me You know, it puts me at peace with the world. And yet, every single day there's resistance. It's like, oh, maybe I don't need to go up today. Maybe I've been up 5 times this week, I don't need to go up again. You know, where does that come from? I don't know. So finding ways of getting over that, getting around it, just saying no to the resistance. And getting out anyway, it's good. So that's where I'm all the day. Whether you find that helpful or not, I don't know, but I've found it helpful. That's what counts. See you later.